Hello!
Hi!
And welcome to a new year of videos on our Thoughtless Tree.
Mm-hmm. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We had a live stream, which some of you were there for. That was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back now with our first films we've seen of this year. Continuing on seeing films, not necessarily every weekend anymore, because you've got a new job, which might affect when we go. But
No, but it'll be every week or every other week, potentially.
Yeah.
But we'll still see the same films we would have done, just at different points.
Yep.
I imagine.
And because it's a new year, our old list is finished. That was a list of 66, I believe, films we saw. And
Should we say what our top 10 were?
can you remember? You've got yours written in front of you.
Yep.
You want to go first or me?
Okay, shall I start with 10 or 1?
Yeah, start with 10 to 1.
Okay, so at number 10, I had Paddington 1.
Yep.
At number 9, I had Paddington 2. At number 8, I've got Heretic. At number 7, Wicked Little Letters. Number 6, Speak No Evil. Number 5, The Lord of the Rings Two Towers. Number 4, Shaun of the Dead. Number 3, Lee. Number 2, Iron Claw. And number 1, Blink Twice.
And my top 10, starting with 10, was Wicked Little Letters, Inside Out 2, Lord of the Rings Two Towers, Speak No Evil, Forrest Gump, Paddington 1, Iron Claw, Fight Club, Paddington 2, and Shaun of the Dead. Slightly different lists there.
Yeah.
Some of the same ones. That was last year, and we're starting afresh now because it's a new year, and we've got 2 films to add to the very small leaderboard at the moment.
This time I think we are going to give ratings out of 10 as well as a ranking.
Yeah.
I think that could make it more fun.
I think it's possible.
But I also like the idea of doing like different out of 10s. So much out of 10 for visual, so much out of 10 for the acting performance, so much out of 10 for story.
Okay, yeah. Well, that'd be good. I mean, we can bombard them with different stats then. And so, it might be inconsistent though, because I reckon like there'll be times we'll rate something like a 7 out of 10 and something else an 8 out of 10.
I think we...
And then ranks a 7 out of 10 higher. On the list.
But I think we can also explain that like it is due to taste and...
Yeah, that's true. This weekend we saw, I thought it was called In Time. It's We Live in Time.
We Live in Time.
We Live in Time.
Nosferatu.
Yes. The sequel to Nosferatu 1. You're growing every time I say that,
Yeah.
which is why I keep saying it. Well, which should we start with? Should we start with the one we saw first?
Yeah, we'll do it in order.
Yeah, so that was in the morning we saw We Live in Time. A romance film, I suppose we can say.
Yeah.
Between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, who meet, and I don't know, it's hard to describe what the premise is for this, really. Partly because I think something might be a spoiler.
Yeah.
And also...
And because it's not like this is the beginning of the story, this is the end, because it's all done in different, like, time periods.
Yeah.
It's all kind of a jumble, but it all makes sense in the end.
Yeah, scenes cut. One scene will be, like, when they're first meeting, and then suddenly there's a scene of ages later, and then you're cutting back to another scene early in their relationship. And to begin with, there's a bit of a... It took me a bit to get the hang of that, because there's a bit where you think he's divorcing someone, and I thought that was Florence Pugh, and then it's not, because he then has a car crash and then he's meeting Florence Pugh, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's divorcing someone else.
And, like, initially I was like, oh, this could get quite annoying after a while, but I did kind of really like
I did
it
as
in
well.
the end.
Yeah, there's some... It doesn't give you whiplash when it goes... I mean, maybe to begin with, when I was getting the hang of what was going on. But after that, you just seem to naturally just move with the flow of it, I think. And I do quite like that about the movie, actually. I think, one, because it's quite intriguing in the way it's put together, the way you're sort of piecing together. But also, it does make it feel somehow more like an actual relationship. Sort of time does blur a bit. And all of the big moments of your... I mean, you think about your life, it doesn't really feel like a trajectory of starting at one point and a perfect narrative story where everything's increasing all the time. Yeah,
it's more just like the... key moments to their relationship, not their entire relationship.
Like when you think about life, it does feel like a mash of memories and things that stand out to you. So it did have that, and that made it feel quite warm, I think, somehow, and cozy. What did you think when we saw the trailer? I mean, were you excited for this one?
I'd seen a lot of people online being like, oh, I'm so excited to see that film, but I didn't get that feeling myself. Like, I was kind of just assuming in a way that it was going to be like just another like rom-com, which aren't necessarily my kind of movies that I would choose to go see.
No, I don't like rom-com. Famously, Love Actually is my least favourite film out of everything. I despise that movie.
I mean, it's even worse when you think about that in that film, Keira Knightley was like 19 years old and she had like a 30, 40-year-old Andrew Lincoln after her, right?
Yes. I don't like anything about that movie. I can't think of... I've seen Notting Hill once and I didn't like that.
I can't think of any rom-coms that I've seen that I... The Notebook's okay.
Does The Terminal count? Because I really like that film.
I'd say no, because it's not really... There is romance. I wouldn't say that's the key factor to the film.
Okay, well, either way, neither of us are big romance fans then.
Oh, I guess my favourite romance film would probably be The Crow.
That's not a romance film. That's a comic book movie.
It's a romance.
No, I mean, it's got romance in it, but it's not a romance genre film.
I would consider The Crow, well, maybe not the remake, but the original, I consider to be a romance movie.
No, that's like saying any film... By logic, Dune Part 2 is a romance, then.
In its own way,
it's got romance in it, but that's not what the film is.
No, but like the general premise of The Crow is romance-based.
No, the general premise of The Crow is being like a superhero type person.
Yes,
killing
but
people for revenge.
why is he doing what he's doing? Because of romance?
Yeah, but I mean that can motivate a lot of characters in a lot of different types of films.
Yeah, it's a romance movie.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Alright, well, either way, I'm not much of a fan of romance. You apparently are now. I was intrigued by this one, I think, because I like Florence Pugh. I've never seen Andrew Garfield in anything.
Spider-Man?
No, never seen it. But I know a lot of people like him.
Mm-hmm.
And felt he was hard done by, so I think I was just intrigued to see what he's like as an actor. I thought they were both really good in this.
Yep.
I fully bought their relationship. In a way, you don't... Also, I think what I tend to dislike about romance is how forced they can feel and how overly sentimental and flowery. But I just bought this as an ordinary relationship. And I think they did a good job of the dialogue in it, like some of the little quirks they adding.
I don't think it was like cheesy either.
No.
Which is quite nice in like a romance movie, because I think a lot of them kind of fail in that sense.
I mean, arguably, I think you could say the pregnancy scene was a little bit cheesy, but I also enjoyed that about it. That wasn't too much cheese.
You mean the birthing?
Yeah.
It was, but then it was comedy cheese, not like romance cheese, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't overly loving, and it wasn't like...
Yeah, and that scene did make me laugh. Not hugely, but it was a good scene.
Kerry Godliman.
Yeah, I just think they did a really good job just adding... both of them did a great job with the chemistry of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But just the ordinarily... I don't know, just the little quirks people have. They had a lot of them. I really liked how bumbling and clumsy Andrew Garfield was, which I said to you, I can very much relate to that. Flustery eagerness to manage things. I like him having that stopwatch around his neck, even when he's going in the bath. Just little things like that, which make it feel not generic.
Oh, is that when she's in labour and he's like timing?
Yeah, he's always got that notebook with him. Mm-hmm. And like little bits when they're both just having a celebrations from the tin when they're in the doctor's, and just boringly comparing which chocolates they each picked out. It's just things like that just make it feel not generic, and like these are two very specific characters that have been written with very specific interactions.
I think we can say this because it is in the trailer. I just like the fact that they meet because he runs out to get a pen from the shop and he buys a Terry's chocolate orange at the same time. And he drops it in the middle of the road, so he goes and picks it up and she hits him with a car.
Yeah. I like that.
To be fair, I probably would try and retrieve a Terry's chocolate orange.
You absolutely would, yes. There's no question about that. I'd probably be the one blind enough to hit you as well, wouldn't I? You know what I drive like. Yeah, so I think all of that works really, really well with this film. Mm-hmm. I think the comedy was pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't call it a laugh out loud film. I did laugh out loud.
Yeah, it's not like an in-your-face comedy. It's not like it's set out to be a comedy. No. It's funny, but it's not. Yeah. It's not forcing the comedy in your face in a way. The comedy's never bad, though. No. It's not like cringy or roll your eyes at. It's at least amusing. Yeah, I just really liked the character. I mean, that was it for this. It basically was these two characters and their life. Mm-hmm. And there was obviously drama, a lot of it, because every life has drama. But it kind of just felt like this is their life. You're going to see this start point of this relationship. You're going to see the ending we have for this movie, and that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. And it just stops. And there's something really nice about that, actually, because it then doesn't have this sort of narrative gloss to it, if that makes any sense. It's kind of more just feeling who these two characters are, and that's the whole movie. But it makes it hard to say anything else about it. I don't feel there was huge depth to it in a way, but that also wouldn't work here. No, but I think it is a very touching
It is.
film.
I mean, it's touching on kind of the things you have in relationships, really. There's a big question they have about him wanting kids and her not wanting kids to begin with, and what they do about it, how they navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's other later problems, which we probably shouldn't say for spoilers. And it is very touching. Good question is, did it move you?
Yes, yeah.
I think I saw you crying at one point.
I cried a few times.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did actually as well. And I cried at the ending.
Yeah.
I think how suddenly the film ends could probably put a lot of people off and could be a bit jarring, but I really like that. It's just like out of nowhere it ends, and that's really hard hitting for me.
I can't really say what bits made me cry without giving away, like, spoilers.
Yeah.
So...
I can't say what moved me so much about this either.
Yeah. But I guess we do a bit now where we say spoilers.
Alright, as long as we put a timestamp in for people to cut to the next film afterwards.
Yeah.
So for the next little bit of this film, and then we'll go to the next one, is spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
So the spoilers are... really, that Florence Pugh's character, Alma, gets cancer, and there was a long period of this, of trying to battle it, which is also quite well done, their relationship through that.
Especially the bit when she finds out she is ill again.
Yeah.
And she is trying to, like, tell Andrew Garfield's character that she doesn't really want the treatment.
Yeah. I liked that, yeah. That like, that's kind of what I enjoyed about this most. It is two people just talking about problems they're having in ordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all very moving, and that was why I find the ending so moving, because she does die, you don't see it, you've suddenly got this scene, I mean, going back and forth between all sorts of time, it suddenly goes to this other scene at the end, and you don't really know what time this is in at first, but then you just see Andrew Garfield and their daughter walking through the door, and they have this touching scene of doing the things Florence Pugh was first doing at the start of this movie.
Like,
Collecting the
wasn't it like
eggs.
their first date or something as well, where she's teaching him how to crack eggs?
Yeah, they do
correctly?
that, and then they just whisk the eggs, and then it just cuts to black immediately, and that hit me a lot. And I think this film, because this sat with me a lot after it, I was oddly anxious throughout this movie as well, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think that's to do with me, but I also it really hit me how old I'm getting now, in a way where I suddenly thought I could, like, get cancer or something. I could be ill. Something could easily happen one day. My knees are giving way, I know that now. Like, I never really considered the reality of that before, and I think something about how...
Well, I think, like, what, is it every 1 in 2 people is going to get cancer one day?
Normally you get those kind of stories in films, and they feel very artistic and very keen to move you. Something of this felt just really real, and that made the reality of that situation hit me a lot more.
I really liked the bit where she enters the cooking competition.
I liked that a lot as well. And you never get to see if she won or not, because she does it, and I suppose having done it, she can then let it go.
I think that's kind of the point, though. Like, it wasn't really about the winning; it was her daughter seeing her.
Yeah, it's a really, really sweet movie, really moving. Which I can't think of a romance movie that's felt this warm and this kind of human and affectionate in any other ways. And they're both brilliant in the parts. Yeah,
it was pretty perfectly cast, I think.
Yeah.
Because I have seen interviews of them, and they do seem to get on really well, like, in real life as well, so that probably adds to the...
Yeah, because I do just buy it. People can give really good performances, but for people to have really good chemistry and really feel like a relationship is a lot more difficult, I think. So what would you give this out of 10? Or what are the categories? I could do visuals, cinematography, kind of sound type stuff.
Yeah.
Artsy stuff. That's one category. Acting, story, and maybe just like overall fun or something.
Okay.
So what would you give it then for visuals, kind of cinematography, overall stuff?
It's tough with this film because there's nothing overly special about how it's filmed or... No. It's one of those films I think if you made it too artsy, it would detract from the realness of it. But I think what they're going for and how it's laid out and presented, I would give it like an 8. Yeah, I think I was. I mean, it's structured really well. The whole jumping back and forth between time thing never feels like a gimmick, and it does flow really, really well. So I think an 8's fair for that. What would you give it for acting? I'd probably say a 9. I think. I don't think it's a 10. But then I don't think there's a lot of 10 performances out there in films anyway. No, I mean the bits where they get to have the really big
kind of dramatic moments. I don't think they really blew me away with the acting.
No.
But it's still very good, and I think their chemistry is just really... I can't think of many films with better chemistry than them do here. Story? I'd probably say a 7 for that, maybe. It was a straightforward story. This is just ordinary life in a lot of ways.
It is, but I think that's kind of what makes it better, so I might go an 8.
Okay, I'd go a 7. Fun.
I'd give it like a 3 on the fun scale.
Would you?
Maybe a 5.
I had fun with the birthing scene, which is an odd phrase to say. But it's a good comic scene.
No, it is funny.
There's some other moments I like that I enjoyed.
I'd give it a 5 though, because I don't think it's overall a fun movie.
Okay, well, yeah, but when you're saying that, it makes it sound like it's boring, I think.
No, there's it can... something not being fun can mean
the category after this is moving, though, so you can score it high on that without it necessarily detracting from the fun. I'd give it a 7.
So what would I rate the fun bits?
Yeah, I mean, how much did you enjoy watching it? I suppose we can say it that way.
Oh, right. Well, if we're going by that, I'd say like an 8.
Moving...
I'd give it like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I'd probably give it an 8, because I feel like some of what moved me is to do with me personally, and I haven't quite figured out what it is yet.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. Is it moving to us?
Yes, but I don't know if it'd be as moving for everybody.
Yeah, but this is our rating. It's not a rating based on what everyone else would think.
All right, well, I'm still going to say that.
Okay.
And what would you give it overall then? Really, we should add up what those scores were, but...
I don't know, I think an 8 out of 10.
I think an 8 out of 10 as well.
Yeah.
It's a solid movie. I think if you enjoy romance, you'll enjoy this one a lot. If you enjoy a cry, you'll enjoy this one a lot. And if you don't enjoy romance, you'll probably quite like it anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it is a typical romance movie by any means.
So, next movie was Nosferatu, sequel to Nosferatu 1. What did you think of that? Where did we start with this one?
It's a tough one because I still don't know what to think.
Yeah.
Because I know it's technically a remake of a film that came out, over 100 years ago now?
Yeah, it was over 100 years ago. And it's a sequel to Nosferatu 1. I think it was remade at some other point as well, actually.
So I think the original film was based a lot on Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Yep.
And I know the original was banned.
Yeah, there's various copyright issues there.
Because of copyright problems.
And I think that actually made the film perform better in the long run.
Yeah. I know you can still probably watch it, places anyway. So yeah, this is a remake, or a... Yeah.
From what I've heard, it's fairly similar to the original story, but enough different to be its own thing. Yeah. Is what I get. I've never read... I was supposed to read Dracula. It was on my literature course, but I never did. I skipped that one.
We did it in high school.
Did you?
We did, the script version, so we kind of acted it out in English.
Is the story similar there, then? Is it the same?
Yeah. From what I remember, I don't really remember a lot.
Okay.
I don't really know what I think of this film, though, because...
I know what you mean with that.
In different ways, there's some things I really like about it, there's some things I really don't like about it. So it's kind of hard, but I guess that will make it easier to rank out of 10 on certain elements. Yeah.
If I have to be honest, I was slightly disappointed by this film. And I think that's partly I had really high expectations. Because you see Nosferatu, and you think this is going to be amazing. And it's made by Robert Eggers, who I've heard of as a director. I've never seen any of his movies, but I've heard he's really, really good. And he's done other similar sorts of things. So I was excited to see this on the basis.
He is apparently remaking Labyrinth.
That would be cool.
I don't know though, it wouldn't feel right without David Bowie, but...
Yeah, well, I've never seen Labyrinth, so I just had a general idea of that one. But so I was excited for that. As star-studded cast here, Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, who I didn't know existed, but I was then intrigued to see what she was like.
You got Aaron Taylor Johnson. Nicholas Hoult.
As Ralph Ineson, or I can never remember his name.
Ineson?
Yeah, I think it's that. Who plays the Doctor. There's obviously Willem Dafoe, who plays another Doctor, who in the first scene this is weird, he just looks exactly like, I don't know if you remember this, the back cover of the first Harry Potter book.
I think it's Nicholas Flamel who's on the back of the Harry Potter.
That's probably who I'm thinking of.
Book.
That's a weird memory from my childhood, but... and the other one was that Bill Skarsgård, I thought, looked a bit like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I thought that.
As Dr. Robotnik, and I couldn't quite get that out of my head. Something about the moustache. But that's beside the point. Star-studded cast, I was really excited for that. Visually, as well, even the posters and the trailers just looked really, really strong. And I think that is the best thing about this movie. the overall cinematography. I think it was really good.
I think most of the acting as well is pretty good.
Yeah, I do. But, the atmosphere of this, the visuals, the use of shadow, I really liked. I loved the beginning as well, actually, when they first go to the castle. And that whole scene there, I really enjoyed. I felt tense throughout that. I was intrigued by it. It felt like this would make an amazing video game.
What, when, like, Thomas...
Yeah, when he's in the castle.
Called, yeah.
I feel like a really good Resident Evil or something, getting to go around that castle. That was probably my favourite bit of the movie, actually. The opening scene was strong as well.
Yeah, I'd probably agree that the whole bit with him at the castle was, like, my favourite.
Yeah. And then I suppose I was disappointed because I feel like after that it got a little bit slow at times.
I did almost fall asleep at one point.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's
a mixture of being tired plus I do think some bits were quite boring.
I never found it boring.
Not boring, but like I think it went a bit too slow. And I think it could have been made shorter than it actually was.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think it was just a bit too sombre, and I expected it to ramp up another level and get really mad by the end, and kind of be really fun and off the wall in a lot of ways. And it never quite did. It was a slow build of atmosphere, and you get to the points where there's a big threat, and it never really escalates that much. And I kept waiting for more to happen. And then there's like these plague ships, and Willem Dafoe's talking about all of the things that are going to go wrong, and you don't really get much happening there.
Yeah.
There's also these other characters like Aaron Taylor-Johnson and his wife, who I didn't feel that invested in, I don't think. So I wasn't that bothered about their well-being necessarily.
I was the children, but then that's mainly just because you don't want to see like things happen to kids in movies. But I
think the central relationship between Thomas and Ellen, I believe she was called, I bought that. I thought that was really strong. I like their beginning as well. That kind of opening scene where there's clearly affection between the two of them, but this is also a bit like that very old-fashioned thing of women not quite being taken seriously and seen as a bit hysterical, and that kind of flavour to it. Which is actually my favourite thing about this movie, actually. This person who's got this supernatural stuff they want to talk about and ideas of being possessed and things.
And they're kind of just told not to tell anyone because...
Yeah. It's just fancy, ignore it.
Yeah. Or
we'll just sedate you. Or make you wear a corset while you sleep to help circulation, apparently. That sounds like...
Just strap her down.
Yeah. Which is horrible, but true and moving. And I really liked it as a result, that scene where she gets, later on in the film, where she just really has a go at Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character and just rips into him. Like, kind of...
The thing is, though, like, I've seen loads of people on TikTok or whatever saying that Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character in this is horrible and how he treats her is horrible. But I don't necessarily agree with that take. Because the way I see it is, he has his wife and kids to protect.
Yeah.
And she's acting this way in his house.
And also that's the time. That's probably exactly what would happen if someone acted like that. You'd go, oh, they've gone mad. Let's tie them down.
Or like even when like he asks her to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, I think he's well within his right to ask them to leave.
I buy that.
I would have asked her to leave probably long before that, so...
I buy that, but I also buy her getting really angry at him and lashing out because she's right and he has not listened, even though I can fully understand why not.
Yeah.
So I liked that conflict in this movie. I really liked Willem Dafoe. I feel like he was just himself, and that's great. He had some great lines. I can't really remember. There's one I said in the car, wasn't it? It was, I've seen things that would make Isaac Newton crawl back up his mother's womb. I think that was it. He says a lot of slightly overly poetic things like that work for his character.
I think Willem Dafoe's been in some really cool movies like the past year.
Yeah.
Like he was in like Kinds of Kindness, Beetlejuice, and all his characters have been like really fun.
I've got a feeling Robert Eggers made The Lighthouse as well, because that was Willem Dafoe. I'm not sure.
I don't think I've seen that.
I haven't either. It did never quite ramp up as much as I expected. The first act, I suppose you could call it, in his castle, really good. Then there's a period where it's all the build-up of, oh, he's coming to Visburg. Dracula, or I shouldn't say Dracula, Nosferatu is coming there. Get ready for this. Things are going to happen. And that's quite a long act of him slowly making his way there.
Yeah, and I do think some of the scenes were really like ridiculous looking, which I guess is kind of maybe also what they were going for. There's a scene where there's the coffin and that guy who's rowing down the lake, and that bit just made me laugh.
That guy goes full on with the cackling as well, doesn't he? The mad kind of minion cackling stuff. Yeah. He's got all of that. I know what you mean with that.
I just thought he was exactly like Peter Pettigrew waiting for like Voldemort to come back.
Yeah, it's got that flavour.
Yeah.
I mean, I still really enjoyed this movie though. I don't want to make it sound. It's that long bit of him coming, and then when he gets there, I don't think it ramped up as much as it could have done.
Do you think that, like, because obviously last year I think we watched, was it 68 films in the cinema?
Yeah.
This year, hopefully it's more.
Yeah.
And I think this film, by the end of the year, is just going to be lost.
Do you?
Yeah.
I probably would say that as well. Because one of the big ones I think you would be looking forward to, and I was really looking forward to this, one of those films you feel like could be massive and have a really big cult following afterwards. And I don't think it will.
It does have a big following.
Yeah.
But I think because
I don't know if it will last though.
There's a lot of people who are like super into like the gothic horror kind of genre.
Yeah.
And big fans of like the originals and like Dracula and things like that, and just kind of dark.
And it does a great job with that, I think.
So I think like to a certain specific type of person, this film is going to be like remembered, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it is anything really memorable.
No, which I guess that's what's disappointing.
Because I don't think the story in itself is creative enough or unique enough to remember.
No, yeah, I suppose that's true. It's quite a straightforward story when you think about it. I mean, the gothic elements are great. I'm not going to criticise this film for not going full-blown horror either. I mean, I didn't find this scary or
but I don't think it's necessarily meant to be.
I don't think it needs to be necessarily. That's fine.
Like, they could have gone for all the jump scares and whatnot, and I just think that would have made it.
I'm glad they didn't
really
actually.
Bad.
Yeah, because there could have been jump scares in this. I think there was maybe one, but that's also not necessarily one anyway. And I'm glad about that. Did you find it moving?
I don't know. Like, I felt sorry for Ellen and Thomas and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, like, kind of later on in the film. But I don't think it was moving in any way, really.
No, I don't think... I mean, it's sort of...
Because I don't think it went into enough detail about the kind of... I use the term relationship lightly, but, like, the relationship between Ellen and the Count...
Yeah.
I don't think you really know enough about like the history and backstory.
I mean, this is one of the oddest love triangle films in the world, I suppose you could say. But
and I don't know. I hate saying it's a love film in any way. Because
I don't think their relationship. It feels more like grooming.
It is pretty much because
between her and Nosferatu.
Hasn't he been like kind of, I guess, with her since she was a child?
Yeah, I mean, she was, I suppose, very lonely and seduced by the idea of something else out there, and to an extent that is very exciting and adventurous, but also you don't know what you're getting yourself into, and you're taken completely advantage of, and it ruins her whole life, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
And I've seen people like on once again TikTok saying like, oh, the romance, it's so romantic, and it's like, no, this is a girl who is pretty much being abused.
Yeah, I did not get romance from it.
Like, sure, there's the romantic element between her and her husband, but I wouldn't say the romance between her and the Count is a romance. It's...
Having said that, I do like that she's not just a helpless victim for all of this. In that, I mean, not because it's not her fault at all, but partly kind of took part in this and has some agency in it. And also with dealing with the whole thing. Kind of in the end comes down to her, and I'm not sure if I like the way they do that, because parts of it feel very, wouldn't say tasteless, but something about how she solves this doesn't necessarily sit right with me from a moral point of view, I guess.
Yeah.
But also it makes sense, and I think does work, and is quite moving.
I do think as well the shot at the end is visually very
That's a
nice.
very, very good end to the movie, and how quiet it goes for that as well. So there's lots of elements I really love about this movie, especially the atmosphere. There's something does feel missing, doesn't it?
I think whilst I like Willem Dafoe in this film, I think there's something missing with his character at points as well. Like, he feels like a late add-on to the film in a way. Yeah.
I mean, all of the main characters, apart from Ellen, feel like they were building up to really doing something, and then actually the kind of twist is that they don't do anything. She does, which I kind of like, but it also does... I mean, I do like that, actually, but at the same time, it does make everything their characters built up to slightly underwhelming.
Another gripe I have with this film, and it's quite a petty one, is that they used real living rats to film this.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and I don't really agree with using real animals in films unless, I don't know where I draw the line, but...
Does that mean that real animals were harmed? Or were those bits CGI? Or?
I assume they weren't harmed, but...
That does make me slightly uncomfortable either way.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that's petty. I think that's fair enough. I think I enjoyed a lot of what this film was exploring, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think I liked the way it looked at the eagerness for science, I suppose, in that age, and the possibility of being blinded by other things. I don't believe in the occult, but I like the idea how that fixed focus on rationality in that time period could make other things difficult, like how easily she gets dismissed as a result.
Yeah.
How they treat women, I think, was really good, and what that kind of causes her to do in the first place. How lonely and neglected she felt to begin with is kind of the base cause for most things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
The sex as well, actually. I mean, what did you... There's quite a lot of sex in this, actually, isn't there?
Yeah.
Took me by surprise, some of it, especially the opening.
Yeah, I forgot about them bits. I don't know. I don't think... Because sometimes in films it can feel like you're showing, like, sex for sex's sake kind of thing. Like, you're not...
Yeah.
Or for, like, entertainment's sake. And it's not actually adding to the story. It is just an excuse to have people naked on screen.
Yeah.
But I don't think it felt like that in this
No, I don't either.
situation.
It felt like they were saying something about a culture that views it as seen,
mm-hmm.
and the shame of that, and kind of the horror as well, and also the excitement, and where it all sits in this weird world. Yeah, so I think I did quite like that in this movie. It is trying to do something with that, and I'm not entirely sure what yet. I feel that most of all about this movie, that I've not got my head around it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe on a second viewing I'd love this. Maybe I find there's a lot more that makes sense to me. Because it's not... story-wise, it's pretty straightforward. But also it feels like there's stuff going on that I don't quite make sense of.
Yeah, visually it just reminded me a lot of Sleepy Hollow. Like the Tim Burton film.
Yeah, I did as well. Maybe that's because Lily Rose Depp making me think of that, but I thought that as well. Mm. Should we rank this one then?
What, using like our out of 10 system?
Yes.
Yep.
Our great system. Visually...
I'd give it like a possible 10.
Yeah. I think that includes not like all of it, all the cinematography, the sounds, the atmosphere, all the things that make that up. I think is a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Acting, I think Lily Rose Depp was really, really good in this movie.
Yeah. I think Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, he did some odd throat singing for most of this, and it works really well.
Yeah.
He sounds like Hailung to me.
Okay.
One of the records in that sound exactly like him, some of them.
I think Bill Skarsgård does do best in like horror kind of roles, though. I think he's kind of made for them kind of films. Yeah.
He's got a great presence for this. Mm-hmm. And Lily Rose Depp has a lot of different parts he has to play in this. There's sort of a fear and excitement, helplessness, sex. Mm-hmm. The way she sort of shakes when she's being possessed is really, really good. Mm-hmm. Like, that works. That scene where she's talking while doing that, it's kind of like, I don't know how you do that physically.
I did see somewhere as well that she did like all her own kind of movements and stuff in that film. Like, it wasn't like CGI, and it wasn't like a stunt double or... Which
is really impressive, because I don't know how she does that. Like, it's worth seeing just for that, I think, really, to work out physically how someone does that performance.
I really liked Nicholas Hoult in this film.
Yeah, I did as well.
I haven't seen him in an awful lot. Like, he was in the British TV show Skins.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Like a lot of big actors these days. He was in that, and I think he was in a film called Warm Bodies, where he plays like a vampire in that or something.
Yeah, I mean, I
hadn't seen him in anything for ages, and then he's in this, and I think he was really good.
I've never seen him in anything before, as far as I know, but he is really good. It does make me think, because to begin with, he's basically the main character for the first half of this movie.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of led to believe he might have died, might have not died, and then Lily Rose Depp's the main character.
Yeah.
And I feel like that switch maybe is a bit of a problem, because maybe that's part of the change, because the focus on him, I think, is really strong in terms of the overall story. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he might as well have died in terms of what he gets to do.
I do think, like, Lily Rose Depp is probably the best actor in this, or actress in this.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe's himself.
But I do think I did prefer the scenes that were, like, Thomas and the Count, or Nosferatu.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they were my favourite bits.
I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson was quite good. He has been in so much, like, in the past year. He plays so much of the straight man in this film that I almost don't. It's part of me wonders if it's too much, especially with the archaic language and how sort of stiff he sounds.
Yeah.
Which is probably what it's meant to be, but I almost
something
find
I do
it too
enjoy
much.
about him being in this film is because he was like pretty much groomed by that old woman when he was a teenager, like his wife who's like 60 years old or something.
Oh really?
Yeah. He was 18 when they got together, and she was like 39 or some shit.
Crikey.
Anyways, since the movie came out, everyone's been calling his wife Nosferatu, and and I can't help but kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, but I think he's still fine in this. I think acting wise overall, I'd probably give it
An 8, 9.
I was going to say 8 or 9. I mean, some of the other I did find Nosferatu's assistant very fun, but also very over the top.
And it was just kind of like one note. It was like, okay, this man's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ralph Ineson is fine in this, but I feel like he's there because he's got a nice voice.
Is he the guy who looks a lot like Robert Englund? As in, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger?
I don't know what he looks like. I've never seen that.
Oh.
He was the first Doctor in it who had the beard bits coming out there. He was in Game of Thrones. He was in The Office as Finchy, if you remember that. He's been in loads of little British things.
He's got, like, quite a big nose.
I can't remember that either. He was in The First Omen as well.
Yes, yeah. Who was he in Game of Thrones?
He was the guy who helped Theon from the Iron Islands. He was his first mate.
Oh, okay.
So he's good in this, but nothing special really.
Yeah, it's nothing to really write home about, is it?
No. So I think an 8 out of 10 is fair overall for that. Story,
I would give the story maybe about a 6 or a 7.
I'd probably say a 6. That's probably the biggest bit that does disappoint for me.
Yeah. I think visually it is beautiful, but I think the story is where it gets let down a little.
Yeah, which is kind of what we said about Longlegs in a way, wasn't it? There's a wonderful atmosphere to it, but then there's not quite enough substance behind it. I think this has more substance than Longlegs.
Yeah.
This doesn't... Although it disappoints me because I had high expectations, I don't think it's a disappointing movie at all. Fun, you got a bit bored then.
I think there were bits that dragged, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So fun-wise, maybe I would give it a 6 as well.
Yeah, maybe me too. Moving...
I'd maybe give it a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, probably me too, which...
It should be more moving than it is, I think, based on some of the story. But I just don't think it explores enough for you to feel that.
No. I don't think the ending felt enough like a great kind of operatic tragedy, high-scale type thing. Again, none of it disappointed, but for everything that's so good about this movie, you feel like the potential for this to be brilliant, and then it doesn't quite deliver that is a shame.
Yeah.
But all of that makes all of those stats we've just said up makes it seem like it's not a great movie. I don't think that's true.
What would you give it overall?
I'd probably still give it an 8. I think.
I think I would give it a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I reckon this is the kind of film I might enjoy more on a second watch. But also, I'm not eager to rewatch it. It's not something I'm eager because I feel like I might be a bit bored. Not that I was the first time, but sitting down again to watch it at home on my own, I don't know. It's not really I don't know if I'd feel I'd like to commit to that. But it's still definitely worth a watch in the cinema.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
I think it is one of them films that I think would come over better, or look better in the cinema.
Yeah. So I'd definitely recommend watching it. So our lists, our very long list of every movie we've seen in the cinema this year. What's number 1 and what's number 2?
Number 1 is We Live in Time, and number 2 is Nosferatu.
I think I'm probably going to say the same, which feels odd because I think Nosferatu probably objectively is a better movie. In terms of cinematography and everything, there's more in it. But We Live in Time is much more contained in what it's setting out to do, and it does that much better than Nosferatu does the things it sets out to do.
Yeah, I think if you're judging it based on what it means to achieve versus what it does achieve, I think We Live in Time is pretty perfect in what it's trying to achieve.
Yeah,
Whereas I think Nosferatu does get a bit lost every now and then.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it. Those are our rankings. I don't know what we're seeing next week. I don't know what's out.
That was going to be my question.
We've seen a lot of... There has been a lot of trailers of things out this January, and I can't remember what any of them are.
There is...
You're excited about The Monkey. That's in February.
The Monkey. There's the Bob Dylan thing.
Yep.
There's that one, the true story about the hostages at the... Is it Commonwealth or the Olympics?
Is that the September 5th one?
Yeah.
That looks really interesting.
I want to see that. There's Flight Risk,
I'm not too
which
bothered.
I'm not bothered about
see.
seeing, but we might do just to laugh at it.
There's several horrors I've never heard of until we saw the trailers for this, which are coming out.
There's the Baby Girl, the Nicole Kidman and
oh yeah, that's out soon.
what's he
isn't it?
called? Thingy Harrison.
Harrison Ford.
No.
George Harrison.
No, him from Iron Claw.
I can't remember his name. I know who you mean though.
Yeah.
When's Mickey 13 out? That's another one.
I don't know. I
advertised a lot.
haven't seen posters up for it or anything in the cinema.
Maybe that's a while then, yeah.
Or maybe it's like very much like when we tried to see Conclave. Like we just couldn't find it in.
Oh yeah, we had to go a different one, didn't we?
Yeah, we had to go to like a cinema which we don't have a pass for, and the seats were like
Awful.
made for people who were like 1 centimetre wide.
And there was a fire drill halfway through the movie.
Yeah, that didn't help. And then they like continued to play the film.
While everyone else made
And
to
then about
exit.
like 20 minutes, no, they continued to play it, and then everyone had got in and we got back into the swing of the film. And then someone came in and went, okay, we're going to rewind. So they rewind the film like 10, 20 minutes or something. It was like, oh, come on.
Yeah, so hopefully a lot coming out. Any movies anyone
Oh,
else
the
is looking
Bob
forward
Dylan, did we mention that?
Yep, that was the first one you said.
Oh.
Any movies anyone else is looking forward to?
Yeah.
And what did you think of these?
Or like, what? Because I haven't really looked at lists of films that are coming out like this year in general.
No.
Is there any big films that you are looking forward to coming out this year?
Yeah, I don't know what's coming out. I've got no idea.
I think there's probably going to be a few horrors which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because I think horrors last year, for the most part, were pretty fun.
Yeah, they were the most
And-
consistent
Yeah.
in terms of a lot of other things were hit and miss, I think.
And I'm looking forward to see the monkey film, because it's made by the same person who made Longlegs.
Yeah.
And visually it looks like it has like the same kind of feel, which will be nice, but I just hope the story's a little better.
Yeah.
But it is like a James Wan film, and films that he does are usually pretty good.
I don't know who he is, but okay.
He was behind like the first Saw movie, I think, or like the first however many Saw movies, and did like Lights Out, Insidious, things like that. It's like pretty
have heard
like
of them.
solid horror movies.
Okay, well that'll be good then. And that's the start of our year. Let us know what you think. Like this video if you liked it. Comment what you think of the movies.
Yeah.
If you've seen them, or if you haven't, why not? Why not? I never know how to end these, do I?
No.
Is there anything else to say?
I don't think so.
Okay then, goodbye.
Bye.